of a national championship. And also, we're now joined by Todd Reesing, legend at Kansas because of the year they had in 2007, 12-1. And he and I have been trading some texts back and forth as KU had the great start. And now, Todd, great timing because Kansas is now bowl eligible. Thank you very much for your time. I'm David Smoak with Paul Catalina. What has it meant to the alums of KU of what the Jayhawks have done this year?
Well, David, Paul, first off, thanks for having me on today. Great to talk to you guys. And yeah, if you can see, I'm smiling right now hearing you talk about that because it's certainly been a long wait for us Kansas alumni. But, man, I couldn't be happier. And I know the alumni base, the students there, couldn't be more excited about what Coach Leopold and his staff have accomplished in really, just about 18 months. It's been amazing to see this turnaround, to see the excitement again in Lawrence, Kansas, and to see that football stadium packed again with fans. And man, they've been competitive in every game this year. And, there's really no reason those guys can't go out there and beat anyone in the Big 12 right now.
Todd, do you see a lot of parallels between these two teams in that your team was a bunch of guys who maybe just had one or two Power 5 offers, transfers, JUCO guys, everybody just kind of pieced together, but in it for all the same reasons that they're trying to prove something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you look at it, any team around a lot of the, Power 5 conferences that aren't really the blue bloods of college football, if you will, the teams that end up, coming out of nowhere and winning, 10, 11 games like we did back in 2007, 2008, have a bunch of diamonds in the rough. You got guys that maybe were undersized, maybe were still growing, overlooked by a lot of the big programs, but then they come in with the right attitude, they train hard, they work hard, they really become students of the game. And then after a couple of years in the program, you get a couple of the right pieces to fit into place, and you have yourself a team that can be with anybody else in the nation.
Todd, your quarterback play at Kansas, obviously you were it. You were the guy. And obviously they had Jalen Daniels who had the great start, and he was dynamic. And then Jason Bean came in because Jalen went down. There's always been wondered if Jalen's coming back. What are your thoughts about Jalen Daniels and also how Bean has accepted or handled the chance to come in and play and keep this team afloat?
Well, yeah, I mean, the start to the year that Jalen had was unbelievable. I mean, you had him up there, highest QBR in the country, people putting his name out there for early Heisman consideration after the first 4 games, rightfully so. I mean, I think we saw some beginning traces of that at the end of last year in that upset of Texas, but he really matured and turned into a whole different player in the offseason. So credit to the coaches and to Jalen for the work he put in, because his accuracy has improved, his decision-making has been incredible, and he can make some plays with his legs. Obviously, very unfortunate to have the injury to his throwing shoulder and, still, not sure the full extent of that injury based on what we've heard. But, give some massive credit to Jason Bean for coming in a tough situation. He comes in and throws for 4 touchdowns over the next 2 quarters against TCU, and has continued to play really good the last couple of weeks, and obviously led Kansas to that first bowl eligibility since when I was back in Kansas. So, that's a tough situation for a guy that's played the last couple of years to get beat out. But to be able to stick with it and keep his head in the right place and then come out and lead this team the last few weeks and play some really good football, I think that really speaks to the kind of kid he is and the kind of character that he has.
You've had a lot of turnover in staff and all that over the years, since Coach Mangino left and your team, there's been several guys in there. Has this staff brought back in the old players like you and reached out, and are you part of the whole thing again now?
Yeah, well, I'd say my experience may be different than some, and I've always tried to stay as involved as possible with the Kansas athletic department. I love going back there, supporting the coaches, the players over the years, regardless of who is, who's in that head coaching spot. I've had the opportunity to get to know Travis Goff, the new AD, really well, and I've got a lot of respect and support for Travis and what he's doing from a leadership level, and then Coach Leopold as well. The times I've had to interact with him and his staff, nothing but respect for the former players that used to be there at Kansas. They want us to be involved. They want us to get out there and be proud KU alumni, proud former athletes. So I think they're doing a great job. I know a lot of the guys I used to play with, we've been texting about Kansas football more than we have in a long time. And I think that just shows you that people are really excited to get back involved, to really turn up the amount of support that we can bring to the program at what I'd say is a really big inflection point for Kansas football.
Todd, when Coach Leopold was hired, and obviously he has a tremendous background, but when he was hired, what were your thoughts about what he might bring to the table?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I thought about this not too long ago when I was talking to my roommate Derek, a former player as well. Is we had gone for a couple of these coaches that were big name guys, right? They were known whether it was in college or NFL, and it didn't really work out as well at Kansas. Whereas you look at someone like Coach Leopold, he's been successful at every stage of his coaching career in building a culture, committed to doing things the right way, a culture around working hard, earning what you have to earn, and going out there and playing football and going to school every single day, which reminds me a lot of what Coach Mangino was able to accomplish at Kansas and come into a program that was, a little bit down in the dirt and needed to kind of get headed in the right direction. And it doesn't happen overnight, right? You got to get players to buy in. You got to get players to want to work and commit to the program that you're laying out to achieve that level of success. And he's been successful every step of the way. And he's showing us right now why that is, because him and his staff know what they're doing. They know how to train and develop young players.
It had been a while. We know about Kansas. Baylor had their long stretch in the, 16 years or so before finally RG3 came in and turned them around along with Coach Prowse initially in the era there. Was it almost like too easy at 5-0 and then it was tantalizing because then the 3 games they lost in the schedule and it was like, oh my God, you're going to tease us, and yet were there concerns they might not get that 6th win?
I have to say that there's never a doubt in my mind. I think it's when you have a player like Jalen Daniels and how much he makes the team go down, you're going to have some tough battles. And they were going into, the tougher part of their schedule and kind of in the thick of Big 12 play. We caught an OU team after they got absolutely destroyed by Texas, and catching a team like OU at home after an embarrassment like that, that's always going to be a tough game to walk into as a team like Kansas on the road. They hung in there. They hung in there against Baylor and came back and made it close at the end. And then they came out once they were back at home and turned the Jets on against Oklahoma State. So, I feel highly optimistic going into these next few games that, there's no reason they can't get, 1 or 2 or 3 more wins and really head into bowl season with a lot of steam going in the right direction.
How much – go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to ask him to power rank Lake Travis QBs.
Yeah, you were the early part of that little run of theirs, and it was eventually, Garrett Gilbert and then Mayfield, right?
Yeah, I think there's been, the number's so high now, it's harder to know how many exactly we're on, but I think we're on at least double digits of 10 or 11 plus quarterbacks in a row that have had a D1 scholarship, and I think just about every single one of them has started at a Power 5 or a big football college as well. So pretty impressive streak of quarterbacks coming out of this little lake community down here in Austin, Texas.
We did a game down there, and Ben Hicks was the quarterback at Midway. And I forgot he was the quarterback at Lake Travis, but he had been suspended, and that's the first time we saw the glimpse of
Charlie
Brewer, who, of course, had a great run at Baylor, and then, of course, injuries kind of took over. Hudson Card, another one from Lake Travis, who's a quarterback at Texas. You are the Vice President, Dimensional Fund Advisors. How in anything in athletics teach you what you do now today?
Well, I think there's so many parallels for what you learn as a student athlete that can be directly applied to the business world, and I think and to life in a broader spectrum. A lot of the discipline that's instilled in you to have to be able to stick to your schedule, to be able to go out and work hard and train and practice, but then also go to class and study and good grades. I think that discipline being very committed to the program you've laid out for yourself, to the goals that you've set, both athletically and academically, again, is another important aspect that I think you learn in athletics. So hard work, discipline, goal setting, and I think an even more important one is just teamwork. Depending upon where you work, some people have much more collaborative and team-focused environments. I'm lucky to work at an organization where that is very much instilled in our culture. We've got a lot of former athletes that kind of have been around the firm and helped to build out that type of an approach within our team. And I think that makes coming to work a whole lot more exciting and more fun every day when you know that you're working with people that you enjoy to being around and you're working towards a common goal. And that just makes the excitement and that competition a whole lot more fun to be a part of.
Todd, it's been a great run for Kansas. Obviously, they have other goals with Coach Leopold and more. You mentioned how you have these group checks with former players. What in the end does this mean? Kansas has their national championship basketball and that history and tradition. What do you think this season has meant overall to former Kansas football players?
Well, I think we've all been patiently waiting for it. And I think just to have Kansas's name mentioned again up there as a team that can go out there and beat anyone week to week is really important, right? It gives you excitement as a fan to want to go out and support the team, watch every game. You know that's going to help to move recruiting forward in a positive direction because now you have guys seeing Kansas play on nationally televised games that are getting pressed on ESPN and being talked about in the media in a variety of different formats. So all of that momentum, excitement helps for recruiting. It helps for the fan base. It helps for alumni. It helps for increasing applicants to the university at large, as you've seen in data before. So it means so much. And, football, is such a big part of college experience for a lot of people. And to have a program that's competitive and is putting a great team out there just makes the entire experience that surrounds the entire university, that much more fun.
How much fun was it playing in the CFL?
Well, it was a rather short-lived experience. I never actually got to play in any actual games, unfortunately. But I'll tell you, there was definitely some adjustment. They've got a fatter football. It stays pretty dang cold up there. You got longer fields, and obviously you only got 3 downs to work with. So, it was a fun experience. The time that I was up there, which, like I said again, was short-lived, and I ultimately decided to hang at the pads as opposed to going back to pursue a second opportunity with a different team, and chose to pursue my professional career instead.
Well,
but there's always that that part of me that wonders, should I have stuck with it and tried to keep slinging the football a little bit longer? But I think my shoulders are beat up enough now anyways that maybe it was the right decision.
Well, you're doing well with what you're doing. I know it's very successful where you are. Thank you so much, Todd. Glad we were able to get you on, and great that KU is bowl eligible with more fish to fry. Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much, guys. Great talking to you today, and y'all have a great rest of the week.
Absolutely. Todd Reesing, he was the dude now. The 2007 team ended up going, 12-1. They beat the hell out of